Hi, my name's Faye and today I thought I'd run you through all the books I read in October before we lose all the sunlight of the year. It's the 1st of November. You have a sneak peek of what I am planning to read in November on my TBR card already, but now we will go back in time and talk about the 6 books that I read in October, and I thought I would work my way up to the absolute highlight. The first book that I want to talk about is The Farm by Emily McKay. This is the first in possibly a trilogy, not actually sure. The first one, The Farm, was published in 2012 and I got this from my friend James, who's gone on a real fantasy reading bend, and this one is sort of your stereotypical YA dystopian novel. The Farm is set in an undetermined time, I think, where a virus spread through the world, essentially turning a certain percentage of the world into zombies, and our main protagonist lives on a farm, which is basically a sort of prison for teenagers where they are sort of locked up together and they have to give blood in regular intervals to feed the zombies outside. Very bizarre. Also a weird thing to be reading currently, obviously. I only gave this 2 out of 5 stars because although I sort of enjoyed it and it was a sort of page-turnery book, hence not less than 2 out of 5 stars, it kind of wanted to do the most, put all the tropes in there. The ending of the book, at least in the copy that I got from my friend, is actually spoiled on the back description, so just don't go there. It pertains her and her twin sister who live together, and her twin sister in the novel is on the autistic spectrum, and I feel like that is not handled in a great way. Also, it's not really consistently done in a way. The main protagonist, the main character, is supposed to be super strong and she fights through everything, and at the same time she's sort of, then there's this male love interest that sort of does save the day. It's just not great. There were a few scenes that I had to smile on because it kind of makes fun of sort of Twilight-esque stories, and then it's sort of the same. There's also sort of vampire characters in it. I don't know, bit of a mess I thought, but enjoyed it nonetheless. So that was my weakest rating. Now I'm glancing down, I gave 2 books 3 out of 5 stars. The first, Slade House by David Mitchell, which is a short book and sort of a companion novel to The Bone Clocks, which is a really, really thick book that I read quite a while ago, and much in the same vein of David Mitchell. He sort of throws together sort of fantasy aspects, and I'm sitting here with my pen, fantasy aspects, in this case also sort of mystery horror. It's not hard horror, but I actually thought the book was scarier than expected. It's set in Slade House, which is a sort of manor where people sort of go missing, so it's a ghost story with a twist. At first I really loved how the chapters were always written in the sort of same formulaic way, but then I also thought that was kind of a shortcoming of the book because you also kind of always knew how the chapter was going to end, and then the ending was a real disappointment, which got me to knock off another star because yeah, literally the last page ends in a way that had me rolling my eyes. I don't know, I don't want to spoil it for you, but wasn't thrilled about that. That was sort of fulfilling my Halloween read, and it was fun for that. I thought it was a bit scary, but yeah, not one of his best books, I believe. I've read Bone Clocks, and I've read one, oh, what's that called? It's a Dutch I don't know, I'm not going to go there, can't think of it. I've enjoyed other books of his more than I enjoyed Slade House. And then the second book that I'm going to give 3 out of 5 stars is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by, I have to read out his name, Toshikazu Kawaguchi, translated from Japanese, so I made the mistake of not checking how to pronounce his name before filming, sorry. And I had really high expectations for this one because I've heard this hyped up quite a lot. And essentially it's, again, a short novel set in a cafe where you can time travel to a certain point in time. It always has to be within this cafe though. And then we get to sort of meet different characters around the cafe and why they would want to go back in time, even though this means not being able to change the path that time took. So that's like one of the caveats, one of the rules to time travel in this book. And I thought it would be sort of really like whimsical, magical, beautifully written, but apparently it's been adapted into a novel from a play, and I didn't love how that was done linguistically. There are a lot of like explanations of what characters wore, of sort of the transaction, paying the bill, which would make sense in a play, but in a novel I just thought that was sort of clunky and unnecessary. So I didn't enjoy just the way it was written, and even thought it would have been more enjoyable to read just if written, oops, there goes my pen, that's going to be a theme of this video. I thought it would be more enjoyable to read it if it had actually just been like the script, the play script. So yeah, was a little bit disappointed by that. I did get a bit emotional though at certain points. I think time travel quite often lends to that because there is so much regret tied into why people would want to go back into time, and every character wants to go back in time to meet a certain person who's important to them. So I did get quite emotional, like 2 points in particular, but just generally the sort of structure, the writing of the book fell flat for me personally a little bit. The only 4 out of 5 star book for me in October, that's it, was Sprache und Sein by Kübra Gümüşay. And this, unfortunately, hasn't been translated into English yet. She's a German-Turkish author. And I thought this was really, really strong. Sprache und Sein translates to language and being, I guess. And that's also what it's about. She talks about how the vocabulary we use to talk about certain issues, especially that we use to categorize groups of people, and how discriminatory our language is in that sense, really limits potential progress, diversity, open-mindedness generally. And I thought it was really strong. She talks a lot about her own experience wearing a headscarf and how she then is used as a stereotypical representation of a group of German Muslim women or headscarf wearing people, and why can this one aspect of who you are become who you are, period. A headscarf wearer. That sounds a bit better in German language. That doesn't translate very well. I thought it was really, really strong. I find it difficult to give non-fiction 5 out of 5 stars generally, which will be interesting. Now that we're in November, I will be reading more non-fiction, hoping to find a 5-star read, because my issue generally is that I quite often, I sort of get the point of the book, and then as the book continues, I sort of think like, okay, I get the point, I don't need another example, another example, another example. And that's not like especially bad in this book, not at all. A lot of the examples she brings do open up another aspect of her argument. But yeah, just like a solid 4-star read for me. And then I had 2 5-star reads, which in 1 month, in which I read 6 books, is spectacular. I will give out 5-star ratings, but not I don't know, easily. And even more impressively, I gave a romance novel 5 stars, which is unheard of in my case. Not because I think romance novels don't deserve a 5-star rating, but for me, to get a 5-star rating, a book has to sort of stick with me, and because of the sort of tropiness of a lot of romance novels, I quite quickly forget what it was actually about. And I gave Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, is that name? Yes. 5 stars. I feel like a lot of people have read this. I was skeptical of the hype. A friend of mine recommended this to me months ago. I listened to it on audio, which, again, I don't tend to love audio books of novels. But yeah, loved it. The narrator is great. He does the different accents of the characters. We have the American son of the female president of the USA, and his love interest is a prince of the British royal family. So you have the American and the British accents done by the narrator, and he does them so well. He doesn't overdo it. And yeah, it's the love story between these two men, and how, of course, this is not something that they want to get out, but not just because a gay love story would be a scandal for the royal family or for the like first family, but also because their relationship develops, and this whole prominence and fame around them sort of is scary to have a sort of budding relationship that you don't really know what's going to happen with it. So really liked it. I also don't like royal romances necessarily, so why the hell did I like this book? The characters were great, the love story is believable, there's a real spark between the two characters, the reason, how do I say this, there's not, you know, okay, I'll start over. In normal romance novels, around the 82% mark, there is some problem why they can't be together. And usually it's because they have poor communication and one misunderstands the other. This is not the case in this book. They have true hindrances to their love story, which are believable to me at least, and they try to overcome them like, you know, adults would. I don't know. So great. You really root for them. And I will check out what other books this author has written, because yeah, totally sold on loads of tropes that aren't really mine. Also, it's sort of an enemies to lovers romance, which again, I don't like. It's the combination of all the tropes in romance that I don't like on audiobook, which I also don't like. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Amazing. My last final book that I read, and that I also gave 5 out of 5 stars, is also amazing, but maybe less surprising that I gave it a full 5-star rating, and that's Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. She won the book prize, I think, for this, shared it with Margaret Atwood, The Testament, and it's about 12 women in, not just in London, in the UK, all sort of in present day, but it switches back and forth between generations and times, and it's the experience of Black British women in all the aspects that there would be, from people who've immigrated to the UK, have been born and bred in London, who a lot of the characters are sort of from the art scene, but not exclusively. So wonderful, so many characters. So there's basically 12 chapters over 4 parts, so yeah, maths. Every part has 3 women, and they are all sort of interconnected, so from like a family or a friend group, but then these different 4 chunks, they also sort of relate to each other, and you don't get confused. I don't love it when books have loads and loads of characters, because I sometimes think it's confusing to keep them all apart and remember all the names, but I didn't have any issues with this. And it was just so lovely. There were so like great, multifaceted, believable characters that you care for, even if they do shitty things. Just really, really strong. And even though it is about the experience of being black, and there's a lot of LGBTQ topics covered, it's not preachy or educational. It's also just entertaining. I was a bit sort of skeptical, like, oh, is this like an important book? But I only use that mocking voice because it was absolutely stupid to put off reading this book, because I thought it would be sort of too intellectual or just not enjoyable to read, even though it might be sort of linguistically really strong. I thought it was amazing. There's next to no punctuation in the story, and again, I thought that would be like unnecessarily academic, but yes, you like stumble through the first like 3-4 pages. It's a bit weird. You know, your eye has to adapt to the style of writing, and then you're just in it, and it reads like any I don't know, like highly produced Netflix series. It's great. Really is a book that I would recommend to anyone. I think it was excellent. So really ending on a high for October. I read 6 books, totally like different feelings about all of them, chuffed about my 2 5-star reads, and we'll now move on to reading non-fiction in November. Hope you had a great month and you're excited for this month to come, and I will see you very soon. Bye guys.